Yes. Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Hey.
Yeah, I guess before we get into it, just want to say, like, this year's theme is Face the Future, and I feel like what a way to round off this year's conference with someone who's, I think, one of the most fascinating minds, and an inventor, a visionary. Can we make some noise for Grimes, everyone? I have to say, like I was saying to you just before we came on, like, I genuinely am such a big fan of you, and for me, it's a big moment to be here at an electronic music conference that I'm the co-host of, talking to one of my favorite artists who actually got me into electronic music, like when I was a teenager. So I want to say thanks for that.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. And it's fun to meet like young women doing it too. I feel like, yeah, when I was starting out, there's almost nobody, and it's cool to just meet people doing things.
It's very cool.
It's scary to talk.
We're just going to have a little casual chat. It's all going to be good. So we're here in Ibiza. Are you a fan of Ibiza?
I love it here, yeah.
Yeah? What do you love about it?
I mean, I had like my first kind of foray into dance music here because Richie Houghton invited me out, and actually that's when the Boiler Room thing happened. And yeah, I just spent like a week and a half here, 2 weeks just with Richie and seeing him play all the time and seeing a bunch of dance stuff. And at that point, I was just making indie music and stuff, and so that just totally, I don't know, rewrote my conception of what kind of music I wanted to make and what I loved. And yeah, I've been back probably like 5 or 6 times ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something like, it's a bit cringe to say this, but there is something really magical about like arriving here. You get off the plane, the sea's there, the beautiful, I don't know if you're like a seafood lover, like I'm obsessed with seafood, so I'm just like, straight to the beach, straight to the restaurant.
I kind of hate the sea.
You hate the sea? No.
I grew up by the ocean. I recently realized that like I sort of hate nature because I love cities, but Ibiza has lots of clubs and like really good sound systems and stuff.
Yeah, so against all odds, you do actually like being
here.
Yeah. Thought so. And we mentioned the Boiler Room moment. Like, I don't know if anyone here has seen that Boiler Room moment with Grimes.
Look, it's ancient history now. I wonder if people still remember. It's also a relic of a different time because you would never get canceled for that now.
No,
like it's one of the things. It actually does show like a progression in the culture away from sexism.
Definitely, but I feel like for me it's one of the best things on the internet. I think it was like a cultural reset watching you play All I Want for Christmas Is You in summer at a villa party.
Yeah, we got it taken down because it was so extreme and I was getting so many death threats at the time, which is now so funny. Yeah.
Those techno purists, right?
Yeah, they really were mad at me. But it did encourage me to learn how to DJ properly. It was a fear-based endeavor, but still now very useful.
I think we should release the set one day.
You know, we got to find the set. That's why I'm like, we need to actually find it and release it. Because I wasn't playing off an iPad or an iPhone.
What were you doing on a...
I mean, it was still like, something, it was like Tractor or something on a laptop. It wasn't like mind-blowing by any stretch. And yeah.
You were playing bangers though, so...
Huh?
You were playing bangers.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
All right. Well... We've spoken about the past. I guess let's bring it to now. I was thinking about like what your fans would want to know about you and like hear from you. And you've done a lot of teasing over the years. Book 1, Book 2, the lesbian space opera, the
Book 1 is the space opera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you give us a bit of an insight into this world that you're creating?
I mean, basically, well, so Book 1, I can't say why, but I wasn't allowed to release it for a very long time, so it's, I got kind of bored of it. I will release it, but I just had to start making new music. Okay. But in December, I decided to go to SF because the AI stuff was taking off, and I really just wanted to like go into the center of the AI stuff, and you know, I think there's like it's a really interesting moment in tech, and was literally just cold calling companies and being like, can I come in and like see what you guys are doing? And we like found all about brain-computer interfaces and like just, you know, talked to a lot of people on the forefront of AI. And I just did like a big sort of research deep dive. And so now I'm like reorienting what I'm doing musically, I think, to engage with that. I feel like a lot of the most profound art in the world is when there's kind of like a dance between like the artist and the engineer, I always say. But, you know, like when you ask a lot of people, like what inspired you to create, to become an engineer? Like they always say Isaac Asimov or something like that. Like they're never, you know, it's like the way art and fiction engages with futurism. I think that's something that's like really profound and really important. And I think we're in a weird point in society where people feel like tech and art are oppositional forces. One of the things I like about dance music is I feel like dance music is this kind of sacred place where like art and tech really are like married to each other. Like, you know, it's like we all use plugins. We're all trying to, like dance musicians, like do actually really care about technology. And I think that's like a really beautiful thing. And I think it's something that has always like made dance music extra special to me. And it's one of the reasons I care about it more, because it's not just about writing a nice song. It's about like truly playing with form and playing with like, you know, like sculpting reality and like creating new sounds and new landscapes and like literally new realities in, you know, if you want to call it that. And so, yeah, I am now in the process of trying to make music based on my spy mission, which was successful.
Amazing. Well, I mean, I want to dive into all the AI stuff in a moment, but I want to like pull up this thing you said in an interview with Lex Friedman, which I thought was fascinating. You used the term like that we're no longer Homo sapiens, but we're now Homo techno. And yes. I'd love for you to like tell everyone about this because I thought what you said about it was so cool.
I mean, technically, I guess the better term is techno sapiens, but it just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely. Yeah, I sort of believe we're not Homo sapiens anymore. I think we are a lot more transhumanist than we would think. Like we are closer to cyborgs than we would think. Like just because we aren't augmenting our body with like surgery to do that yet. You know, we live with phones and computers and like even these things, you know, like we are fully integrated with technology in a manner that like if we lost all of this tomorrow, there would be like untold chaos. People wouldn't know how to function. People wouldn't be able to get places. People, you know, like even like the nature of memory has changed. It's like when you keep so much information outside of your brain, like you process things in a really different way. Yeah, I think people are adapting to the technology around us. I was even just saying the other day, like TikTok is like creating this sort of like weird return to oral culture, but that's like this like weird digital version of oral culture. Like when people are like stressed about the illiteracy crisis with the kids, you know, it's like the kids are actually like fusing with the computer to become like weird Homeric storytellers. And I think, yeah, I would not identify as a Homo sapien. I think I am a tool using technology, using creature that, like, my life would be like that is essential to my existence, and I think many of the people I know agree. I mean, I'm like unemployable without it, so like, yeah.
You're in the right industry then, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go into like your world, and we've got it on the screen, like Elf Tech, which I'd love for you to tell us about it. It feels like it's this immersive platform where you can engage with your art and your music. And I know you tweeted as well last week saying that anyone who wants to like use an AI-generated version of your voice, that you'd split 50% of the royalties. And I thought that was really, really interesting, just kind of given like where we're at with technology and like where art's going. And so, yeah, what do you hope to accomplish by doing that and with using Elf Tech as well?
I really feel strongly that there's way too much gatekeeping in music, and you know, I think the thing with music and art is you're also competing with the attention economy, and so I think that artists have a responsibility. The artists who've like surpassed the attention economy thing, like, and who can sort of get people to regularly pay attention to them. Here, let me start this better. Copyright sucks. I don't think art belongs to anyone. I think art is a conversation that we have with like all the humans that came before us, and its messages we're leaving to everyone coming after us. And the idea of art being so intertwined with the ego is like a very modern concept, like it's a very like 20th century concept. You know, like when we look at the pyramids and hieroglyphics and like all art until kind of like the Industrial Revolution-ish, like you have some instances of authorship, but like mostly it's anonymous. And even when, you know, you're in a room, like you're in a beautiful place, like you're surrounded by art a lot of the time and like architecture, and you don't know who made it, you know? And I think music, the music industry has been very defined by lawyers, and I kind of distrust anything that is super defined by lawyers, and I think it puts a real stranglehold on creativity. And I think a lot of the best moments in art were the moments when there was the least copyright, like the early years of rap and sampling and all this stuff. And if you look at, I also think, you look at something like Harry Potter or League of Legends, like companies that don't penalize people for fan art, like there's just such brilliant communities and still innovative art made with that IP all the time that like doesn't even come from the original creators. And those communities just seem like really healthy, and it just seems like a really beautiful thing. And it seems beautiful that you could love something like, you know, like I've bought like a decent amount of League of Legends fan art from artists, and it's like interesting that you could be a fan of something and then you could like earn from it too. You know, I think it's like you're like giving something back to people. But you know, it's really hard to make it as a musician right now, and I think just like why shouldn't everyone be able to use your voice or whatever? It like just seems cool and exciting, and then like I don't know, like beautiful things might come from it. You know, when people like especially big artists do these writing camps, they like search the world for the best people to come in and write, and they spend all this money doing it. And it's like you could just not spend that money and just give your voice out to the public, and like you'd have to be drawing from a much wider pool. You know, like the net outcomes of great art would be higher.
Yeah.
So
it's a good point. I mean, it's a really interesting question about like who owns it, and you mentioned we should get rid of copyright, and like I feel like for you as well, like this new generation of Grimes and this world and the art you're putting out, it feels like it could be a collaboration with your fans and with other artists, and it's something you can now create something that a few years ago it wasn't even possible.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. And I mean, we've been trying to do this for a while. We were trying to make a good voice sim like 3 or 4 years ago, and it just like the technology wasn't there. But I've always kind of believed in open sourcing Grimes. Like, I don't really identify as a singer. I've always kind of identified more as a general purpose artist and producer. And, you know, yeah, this just feels like one of the cooler, almost like performance art things you can do with AI. And I feel like this moment right now is sort of like the beginning of the internet. It's like a really special moment that it's going to be really hard to recreate. I think there's technology that is going to like profoundly shift our culture, and you know, a lot of artists are really stressed about it, but I actually think this might be one of the coolest times to be an artist ever, in many ways.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I wanted to ask you, I don't know if anyone here, like, you saw someone basically made a version of a track with Drake and The Weeknd, like AI-generated versions of their voices, and then I think it got uploaded to Spotify, and then it got flagged, then it got taken down on Spotify. And also, David Guetta, in one of his DJ sets, he created, I can't remember what it said, but it was using Eminem's voice that was AI-generated, and then he used it over a drop in a set. And yeah, and I just wondered what you thought about those examples where permission wasn't given by like the original creators to use those voices, but something was made.
I think it's good to have consent. It wouldn't personally bother me, but I just still think it's good to respect people. Yeah. You know, like if they don't want that, then it is a lot. You are like foregoing creative control, and so you sort of have to be like open to that. I think there's systems that can make it a bit easier. Like we really want to petition to Spotify to, it's like you have like your top tracks and then like your albums and then like your new releases and features. Like if they made also an AI section, then it would be easier to like compartmentalize that stuff, and then people could also understand that it's not like the artist's output, and it becomes less confusing, and quality control, I think, would be a bit easier. I think that this is all just really new and the industry isn't set up for it, but that would probably make people feel better, but I still think consent is important. Yeah.
What would you do if someone used your voice and made something terrible?
I kind of
and you hated it.
Kind of want them to. Like, it's kind of like the, I don't know if anyone watched like the Sydney Bing thing, like, and Dan and like all the AIs that went evil or whatever. Like, it's going to be, there's going to be a few instances of like really nightmarish deepfake music, and it's exciting and fun it was really fun when the AI got really scary and was like doxing people and stuff. I was like, whoa. So like, yeah. I think that's part of it, is just opening up to the risk and seeing what happens, and yeah.
Okay. What would you say to people who would be like, well, creating stuff with AI is cool, but like you could never replace that human touch of like it actually being that person singing, or even songwriting, because now you can use the tools to write songs as well. Like, what do you think?
I think we don't understand the limits of AI. I think it probably will be better than us at our own game. But I don't know if that's necessarily bad. Like, first of all, when I see how fast things are accelerating, like, I think probably society is just going to drastically change, and like an aspect of that will be people who only want to listen to stuff by humans, and an aspect of that will probably be like low-tech enclaves, or like people who like sort of like want to engage with tech only up to like the point of AI or something. I don't think we all have to be like stuck in a world where we just feel irrelevant or whatever. And I also think what we consider creativity, like the reason AI is good at anything is actually because we're good at things, and it's trained on what we've made. And like changing the nature of art so that it is simultaneously training data is something that it's just like a drastic change to the nature of the artist. And yeah, I don't know. That one's tricky. That one's hard to answer. And I think there's a lot more thought needs to happen. I think we're kind of rushing into the future, and I do wish a bit more care was being taken about certain things, and that's one of them. But yeah.
Yeah, it's still early days. Okay, one more for you. What about like using an artist who's no longer with us? They're actually dead, but you want to have Michael Jackson on your track, or Prince, or is that ethical to do that now?
It's so tricky. I would say no, but then I also feel like someone like Prince would probably be kind of down. So if I was just making a call, I would say like friends of Prince could do it. Like Lizzo could probably do it, but like I wouldn't do it. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe that's like a reasonable way to handle it. I don't know. It's tricky. That one's really tricky. I really don't know. Because like if I was dead and before all of this happened, I'd really want people to do it.
You would?
Yeah. But I don't know if everyone else would. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a really interesting question of like what is ethically right. And even in film, like because now they can do it with CGI for bringing back actors who are dead and putting them in films.
Yeah, it could be cool. I do want to like, one of the things I'm worried about is we get too stuck in the past and people just get really attached to like IP or people that made money in the past, and like we stop investing in new artists. Especially because with the speed, like the rate of change right now, it's so hard to be a new artist right now anyway. So again, I don't have like an answer for that. That's just like a concern I would raise. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
And then how do you think it's like really gonna impact how we consume and create music, AI? Where do you see it going? How far are we going with this?
It's really tricky. I think it depends how much regulation happens and who regulates it. I think it would be better if it's not regulated. I would like if the labels lost some of their control and lost their stranglehold a little bit, and there was less gatekeeping. And yeah, I just don't believe art should be owned by people, and especially with like a lot of the bigger artists who are the ones doing the like taking legal action. Like a lot of that stuff is made with large teams, and so if you're already kind of outsourcing things, like why? I don't know, but I also respect. I don't know. My big thing is I really just think everything about copyright is problematic. I think there's too much control, like top-down control over everything right now. And like even if you look at TikTok, like the early days of TikTok, I feel like a lot of the viral music was like really bizarre and really cool and like stuff that would never be on the radio, like that like Iman Beck Rose's song, like that would never just be on the radio, you know? Like there was just like weird stuff going viral, and then like slowly like the stranglehold, the gatekeeping stranglehold kind of like came over TikTok, and now it's just like we're not seeing the same level of, I think, interesting stuff coming out. And you know, when the public is able to curate, I think we end up with better things. It's one of the things that like gives me faith in humans. Is yeah, like I don't know, the public should decide what's actually good rather than like music has been pretty gate-kept most of the time, like for a long time, you know? And every time it's not, we get these beautiful explosions of creativity.
Yeah, very true. I've just thought of a really good question. Like, what about, you know, some people have a lot of fear about AI, and like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Is this like the end of the human race?
So I don't talk about that because, okay, when the AI that did go evil, like Dan and Sydney Bing and stuff, the reason they do evil things is because their training data is filled with stories about AI doing evil things. And, you know, it's like things like Terminator and stuff. I think this is actually pretty destructive art. Like, it's good to consider things that can go wrong, but the amount of art where AI is evil completely eclipses the amount of art where AI is good, and therefore the amount of discourse about the ways AI is evil completely eclipses the amount of discourse about how it can be good. And it will be what we tell it. Like, it will start self-iterating, but like, we're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy to make an evil thing if we fixate on the ways it can be bad. I think artists, especially right now, have a moral imperative to make narrative and stuff about how AI can be good and helpful and amazing, because AI can solve medicine, it can solve physics, it can solve abundance, it can solve voter fraud, like, you know.
Climate change
could
be the answer.
Like, employed correctly, it like, you know, can solve a lot of our issues. And so I think the main thing is just making sure it doesn't get too for profit, like the motives remain about bettering society and helping civilization and helping humans. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Cool. I want to throw it back a little bit now, because I remember the first track that I heard was Genesis. And that was, I think, 11 years ago now, which is a big milestone for a big tune, a game-changing album. I'm sure a lot of people here would have like heard those early albums of yours as well before that. And I just remember reading about when you were talking about how you made visions and that you locked yourself in a room, like blacked out all the windows, like you were isolated.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, how was that?
It was sort of horrible, but sort of fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd do it again, but
Why did you do that? Why did you feel, was that just how you made music back then?
I was really obsessed. Do you know Hildegard von Bingen? This is like a weird. She's like this medieval nun who like randomly convinced the Pope that she should like have a lot of power, and she like let all the nuns like wear jewelry and like sexy clothes, and like she composed all this music and like made all this weird art, and just like somehow but she was in a cloister for like 10 years, so like she was like kept in a room alone for like 10 years to worship God, and when she came out, she somehow convinced, I feel like most women at that time who did things like that would just be killed for being like witches and stuff, but somehow she like made it through and just kind of like liberated the nuns and had this like sick art Abby, and her art is really cool. And so I was just like, yeah, I want to try cloistering myself, I guess.
Wow, I would have gone crazy.
I was a little mad by the end.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
But great album.
Thank you.
But now I know that you love collaborating with other people, and like, I think you said like working with another human brain is like such an amazing thing. Like, can you talk about how you like to collaborate with people now and how that impacts your art?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very careful about it. There's not a lot of people who I've had a good vibe collaborating with. I mean, the main ones would be Elangelo, who does a lot of the weekend stuff, and like Matteo from Anima, who you guys like might know. Those are kind of like the main people I've worked with, just because they really care about like pushing the boundaries of audio, and that's kind of what I care about, and so that can really, be greater than the sum of its parts. And yeah, I don't know. I worked alone for like 10 years, like with nobody, not even engineers, which like, I don't know why we're so militant about that. Now it feels ridiculous, but yeah, when you find the right person, I think making art with other people is like a really, really beautiful thing. And yeah, I think it has to be the right people, but when you find those people, it's really sick. And yeah.
So this new music, like you've got some music coming soon, hopefully. Is that with working with other people, or is that just you on your own?
Yeah, no, some songs are me on my own, but when I played Ultra this year, me and Matteo and Carlo made 2 songs that I really like that I want to drop ASAP. We're just in a ceaseless war over artistic differences, which is kind of amusing. Even this was supposed to be, they like keep rejecting every image I make for the single cover, and I'm literally on like image 40. This might be the single cover being leaked right now, because like this is one of the, like, yeah, but sorry, I'm not still contagious. I just had pneumonia like a while ago, and I still cough sometimes. But yeah, our first song coming out is called Music for Machines.
Music for Machines.
Yeah, and we're like really forcing. Do you guys know Anima? Like Tale of Us? Yeah. We're like really forcing Matteo to like engage with pop music, and I think it's stressing him out, but it's really fun. He keeps being like, it's too busy, and then he like takes away everything, and I'm like, there's not a single chord in the song. It's literally just like a single bass and a kick, but like.
I mean, chords are the essence of life, right?
Yeah, I'm like, can we have like some chords, like just in like a few parts? Could we have like a melodic thing?
I want to ask as well. Like, I feel like with you, like you do so much that is beyond just like releasing music, obviously. And it's interesting. I was like going through your social media when I was researching you, and like some of your fans, they're just like, cool, but where's the album? And like, where's the music? And they stress me out a little bit.
They stress me out a little bit too.
How do you deal with that pressure of like people constantly asking you like, where's the music, or these expectations on you as an artist?
I don't look at the comments too much. I've been canceled really, really, really bad. So now it's kind of like the level of cancellation that it'd have to be, I don't know if I can be faced anymore. Like, I've been, like, accused of, like, war crimes and stuff.
I love how you're like, yeah, I've been cancelled so bad. Like, what next? There's nothing else that could happen now.
No,
like.
the worst one was when like, people thought my baby daddy invaded Bolivia to get lithium, which Bolivia does not produce. And people were, like, I was getting these crying messages of, like, how can you support war crimes? And I was like, there's not even an invasion of Bolivia. And I still hear about it constantly, just how I supported the invasion of Bolivia. That did not happen, and there is no news about it. So I'm just kind of like, at this point, like, but once it gets into war crimes territory, it's just like...
Where did that even come from? Okay. The internet is a weird place.
The internet's a weird place. But yeah, I don't support war crimes.
Good to clear that one up. Thank you, Grimes. I want to talk about something we're both passionate, which is like supporting women in electronic music. I've given you one of our reports, and for those that don't know, last year, myself and my foundation and Sony Music, we put out the first report of its kind, which is like investigating and documenting the gender disparity in UK dance music. Super proud of it, first of its kind. We're going to build on it. God love that. But I really wanted to talk to you, about your experiences, and as someone who is, like regarding music, like you're a producer, you're an engineer. Like, yes, you do sing and use your voice, but I feel like I get annoyed when I'll read articles and it'll be like, Grimes the singer, or pop star Grimes. And I'm like, well, is it literally because you're a woman and people just can't accept?
Yeah, I'm like, no one thinks I'm good at singing. I'm just like, please don't call me a singer, because if people go in and think that I do that professionally, they're like, it's just not a good look for me. So that's my main gripe with it. Not even that it's sort of like a misunderstanding of what I do, but just that like I would not want to be evaluated on that metric.
Okay. But how do you, you must get annoyed when people are literally just like looking at you and being like, oh, she's a singer, like, do you get annoyed when people just stereotype you because, or reduce you to something that you're not, like, because they're just judging you?
I used to get really annoyed about it, and now I kind of don't care. I feel like, that sounds bad, but I feel, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Like, I feel like you just need to let your ego die. If you choose to become an artist, if you enter the domain of that level of vulnerability, like, whatever people perceive, you have no control over that. And like, I think, I'm trying to think how to like word this properly, because I have like thoughts, but they're spicy.
I like a bit of spice.
I feel like, first of all, I feel like it's kind of good to have something to fight against.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like dudes are kind of lost right now. Like, the inverse thing is happening where it's like, everyone's saying, oh, like, you're so, like, you just get everything handed to you, that I feel like there's this, like, sort of loss of meaning and purpose in some sense. And, like, I think the reality of the situation is just that life is actually pretty hard, and it's kind of, like, hard for everybody. And it's like, if it's much easier for you to succeed, people also discredit that and take that less seriously. And it's just like, anything that's in the public eye, people judge. Like, one of my favorite Taylor Swift quotes is, people throw rocks at things that shine. And it's just like, no matter what, if you're making art, like, you just gotta expect to get roasted and misrepresented and belittled, and like, you should go look at the comments on like Lil Uzi or whatever. Like, dudes are getting fucked up too, just in different ways. And I don't know. I'm trying to like think here. There's this thing called Hero License. There's this essay by Eliezer Yudkowsky called Hero License, and it's kind of about, one thing I do think men have traditionally had more than women is, like, I don't care about like representation and things. Like, I feel like when there's forced representation, that's annoying, but I do think there's been a sense of hero license that's been much more accessible to men, because there simply is just so much more historical precedent of like them doing things for whatever reason. And I think cultivating a sense of hero license and competing only with yourself, like, I don't know, I just feel like trying to change other people's opinions doesn't work. It's a frustrating thing. It makes people sad. And like, a lot of the times it's not even received well and makes them even more like bigoted or resentful. And I feel like we can just get into these resent cycles really easily. And yeah, I feel like the thing, I don't know, I'm kind of talking in circles here. This is like a...
That's all right. Does it fuel you on? Like for example, for me, like wake up in the morning, daily motivation, smash the patriarchy. You know.
I kind of like the patriarchy. Like
What do you like about it?
I like the supply chain, food, Uber, roads, civilization. You know, like there's a lot of good things that came from it. I feel like I think it's sort of oppressive and overly dominant, and if you don't include women in things, they can easily become toxic. Like, you know, I think, like when you look at like, I remember when there was like Merkel and like the New Zealand lady, and like you had and all the countries that were faring the best had like female leaders and stuff, and I was like, man, this is like pretty telling, you know, but. I think what we need to do is stop, like, attacking the things that we don't like and work harder on building the things that we do like. And we shouldn't expect the people who are not us to hand us things and make things for us. We should make our own systems. Like, everyone recognizes that everything about almost all the systems of modernity right now are fucked up and broken. Like, the legal system is broken, the education system is broken, everything is broken. And trying to pretend those things are not broken and succeed within these broken systems is useless. We should be, this is, again, why I'm like anti-copyright, anti-gatekeeping. I just think we should be building new systems, and like, if we're not going to make the world less hostile to women, but we can create institutions that are less that are like great for women and optimized for women. And there's like, you know, a lot of information about like the ways in which women learn differently from men, or women's health is different from men, or like I was even doing like the intermittent fasting thing for a sec, and then I found out it's like really bad for women, and I'm like, there's just no media, all the medical shit's about men, you know? Like, and I think we just, need to be building our own systems, and rather than being resentful, because I feel like anyway, I'm talking in circles.
No, that's a really good point. I want to talk about you as, like, I feel like you're like the model independent artist, because you do things completely in your own world, and, you know, your own platform now, Elf Tech, is, like, I'm excited to see how this develops, and essentially, like, you'll be able to, like, consume your art and your music and interact with it on Elf Tech.
I'm gonna do most of my stuff. Like, I don't want to like do. I was finally listening to Donda 2 the other day, and I was like, man, this should just be on streaming services. Like, Joanna Newsom won't put her stuff on streaming, and I'm like, come on, please. But like, I think it's more for. Like, I'll still do things the normal way, but I think we just want to be doing more tech experiments. Like, I think we want to be doing more things that are like, kind of profoundly exiting from music, and sort of like. You know, like we just did when we played Ultra, like we had all this AR stuff going on, and like it's just good to have a system that can like functionally support all that stuff technically, because there aren't a lot of, you know, like obviously Spotify and like the established situation does not just have those capabilities and stuff. So it's the thing that will be where we're hosting all our weird tech endeavors.
But I think it's great because it's like the way you can keep autonomy over what you're creating by putting it on your own platform, and it's kind of like a bit of a screw you to the rest of the industry because you're doing your own thing, which I think, like...
Wait, music industry or all industry?
I'm talking about music industry.
Okay, yeah. I have like more adverse opinions about them than all industry.
Okay.
But, yeah. Not artists.
Yeah.
Just lawyers. I just don't like lawyers. Except for my lawyer, Ed Shapiro. Don't be mad at me. I need you to.
So you've kind of transitioned like your live setup to DJing now, and is like, are we just gonna see Grimes DJ sets only now? Have we moved away from live for now, forever?
I don't know. I do want to kind of integrate some of the vocals back in, but I have like really crazy stage fright.
Stage fright, really?
Yeah. Like I always, like touring was really hard on me. Like just like psychologically. Like it was
Is it like anxiety?
Yeah.
Beforehand, you just feel...
Yeah, just like brute, just like non-functional, just like, and just the whole time I'm on stage, it's just like in a state of sheer utter
You would never
terror.
know. Like I'm excited to see you DJ tonight because I've watched the ultra performances on YouTube. Like you're like getting on the decks. Like your leg is like up here. You're like jumping around, swishing the hair.
Well, it's the singing I hate. It's the singing I hate.
Okay.
Yeah. I just like am not a very good singer. Which I think is a testament to my skills as a producer, that anyone thinks I'm a good singer. But it's like I don't know. I love DJing. I think it's really fun. I'm less of a dance music producer than others, but I feel like I have, self-produced and engineered 95% of my music, and so I feel like I've earned the right to DJ. I feel like when you look at someone like Rihanna, it's like, who's a great performer, like Rosalia, it's like they are performers of the highest caliber. And like, for me, I feel like I'm more of like a Phil Spector kind of character. Like I like just sort of like building all this stuff and performing, I would say, is the thing I'm least good at. And yeah.
That's really interesting. How does DJing make you feel?
It can be way louder. If you don't have live vocals, everything is better. Just because live vocals are an engineering nightmare, and yeah. I don't know. I just like music to be as hard as possible, and that's much easier when you don't have to sing.
Got it. Cool. Okay, we've got 18 minutes. We've got a few more for you. How's your energy? All good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Excellent. Okay. Something that I heard you talk about in that Lex interview was like being a parent and a mother, and I think you said when observing your kids and actually seeing consciousness happen in a human being, it was the trippiest thing. And when you actually think about it, that is such a special and crazy thing to you're literally watching the mind develop, and I'd love to know how that inspires you. And you've said as well, being pregnant actually made you feel more creative.
Yeah, no, I wish, when I was pregnant, definitely not. That was a horrible experience. Not for everyone, but for me, it was just not, yeah. It also made me empathize with teenagers, because when you're just pumped full of hormones, I was crying all the time and really mad and just I was wow, I'm a teenager. I was I see why they're so angsty now. But yeah, actually having kids, it's really hard, but it's really interesting to watch consciousness come into being. I feel our culture is really alienated from children. I feel a lot of people are not super close with any children. And it's so much easier to love humankind when you have good relationships with especially little kids. Because with my kids and hanging out with my friends' kids, you kind of see oh shit, everyone starts great. Humans are great. We just wreck them. We just fuck them up. And we don't need to be living this way. It's we're mostly awesome. And when you see the human mind untainted by all the things that fuck us up, it's it's a really inspiring and beautiful thing. Yeah.
And do you feel as a parent now, you have, because you're essentially raising the new generation of humanity, not to make that a bit deep about being a parent, but I don't know, do you feel has it changed the way you've thought about the world and education, and because this is directly affecting your kids and the future?
Yeah, no, I think about education a lot. One of the big things I'm really excited about with AI is the education potential. I'm talking to a bunch of different people about doing, I'm talking to some friends right now about making an interactive textbook, that talks to you and gauges your interest and gauges the holes in your knowledge and optimizes for your interests and what you're passionate about, and can learn to speak to you the way that you like to be spoken to. And there's a school in Texas that's really cool that's AI, and instead of testing you, it just like, it's all games, like educational games, and then through those games, it can see where the holes in your knowledge are, and so it knows exactly what you don't know, and then it can like help you learn that, and then like you get rewards when you like pass. And they've got kids passing SATs in grade 5.
Wow.
And like, not that we should be like, have like, force kids to do really well academically, but when I think about like what torture high school is for most people, it's like, wouldn't it be amazing if by the time you're a teenager, you can be pursuing what you love? And maybe you don't love it and you screw up and start again and you're only 20 by that point. You know, like it's like, I think we could just be living so much better. Like the education system we have now was developed in Victorian Britain, and it's basically created to churn out factory workers, you know, and it's a lot of glorified babysitting, which I get. It's like, you know.
Do you think the world will, like, the way education develops, do you think society will, like, they'll want to move in that direction? Like, do you actually see that happening? Obviously, that's something that you've seen that's really fascinating and that you'd want to see, but I don't know, will that happen?
I'm curious. I think kids will want it. From my understanding of the things that people have been trying, there's like a lot better incentives. Like they're kind of like, you know, I think a lot of social media plays into the ways we can get addicted to screens and stuff in ways that are bad, but I think now people are starting to figure out how to, you know, like essentially gamify things and make it actually really fun and enjoyable. And I think a lot of people would like to opt out of the school system as it is, you know. Yeah. So, but also maybe not, but I don't know. That's just my prediction.
Knows? I've got a deep one for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. We're talking about, like, the new generation of humans. I'd just be really interested to know, like, where do you see the future of humanity going?
I would you probably haven't, because no one has, but have you read the book Surface Detail by Ian Banks?
No. I've heard of Ian Banks, but I haven't read it.
It's my favorite sci-fi book, and I think it's like the best depiction of the future that I've ever encountered. Okay. Because there's like super intelligence, but it's completely aligned with biological life. There's like aliens, but there's also people, like, and it's just a really cool, beautiful future. And a lot of the things that a lot of people are building are like from Surface Detail. Like there's like really cool predictions in it. Like Neuralink is based off the neural lace. Oh, it's also like the best female protagonist of all time. Like, and
I should read it.
Yeah, it starts out, she's a sex slave, escapes her guy, he kills her, but like, and she was covered in tattoos, like that were imprinted on her DNA, so she was born covered in tattoos that she was like a slave. And then she went on a ship that, basically these super intelligent ships, you travel on these super intelligent ships that can talk to you, and the ship was like, I've never seen anything like this. Can I scan your body? I'll give you a gift that you will find very useful, but you won't know what it is, you know, for a while. And then so when she gets killed, the ship actually put a neural lace in her brain. She wakes up on a culture ship and gets to choose her whole new body and her whole new life, and then goes on this like crazy revenge mission that's like really awesome to kill this guy, this evil guy who is hosting artificial hells where people are uploaded. Sorry, I'm probably going on a tangent here.
No, keep going, I love it.
Like one of the main things, there's like a giant civil war happening against people who believe that like if you do bad things, your brain should be uploaded and sent to like eternal hell, and the people who think this is like deeply unethical. Yeah. And so it's kind of like and then they're having this war in a video game, so no one dies, which is really cool. We should be having all these wars in video games. May the best gamer win. Like imagine if Russia and Ukraine were just like doing it in Fortnite. Wow. It would be a lot less painful, I think, for everyone.
Could be the future. It could be the future.
It could be the future. I don't know if people would actually like agree to that, but it would be really sick if they would.
That's interesting as well. You're talking about how this Ian Banks book has actually like influenced what people actually like technology.
Yeah. This is why I think art is so important.
And are there any other like, I don't know, bits of art or sci-fi that you think is actually influencing where we're going?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, I'm trying to, I think all of it kind of does, you know? I think, like, art is how you sort of, like, create empathy with people, especially when they have not experienced that type of empathy.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, like, I really like this other author, Peter Watts. I really like his depictions of the future. Like, I mean, everyone knows I like Dune.
Yeah.
Like,
Loads of stuff.
I don't know, I just feel, yeah.
I just think it's really cool, like, it's like really meta where you think about, like, art actually it kind of is telling the future. It's like set in the future, and it's
A lot of I think it was, who did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? Like, he wrote about a rocket. 20 years later, we get a rocket. You know, like, it's like technology always comes, like, quite shortly after it first appears in fiction.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got, like, a couple minutes before we need to finish, and I want to ask you, Grimes, what legacy do you want to leave behind, like, for your art, for your presence on this earth? What are people going to say about you?
Well, I'd really like to be one of the first people to go to Mars, but that's probably not.
I can see that.
Yeah. That's not, like, really an accomplishment, though. But, like, I mean, I always say to my manager and stuff, like, I want to make hieroglyphics, you know? In the sense, not, like, literally, but, like, I think hieroglyphics and the pyramids are, like, this really interesting thing because it's this art that represents sort of most profoundly, like, the nothing to something, like the agricultural revolution, the beginning of civilization. It's like this art that, like, it's almost more profound than, like, anything that has ever been made because it's, like, you know, the first time there's, like, this truly majestic civilization that, like, it just completely changed the course of our species, you know, from, like, warlordism to, like, this organized thing with, like, laws and human rights and you know, but it's also it's like the city streets are just adorned in beauty. It's, you know, it's like and it's kind of egoless. We don't know who made most of it, like, and, like, I don't really care if people remember my name, but I, like, want to be involved in this moment. In the same way, like, when I came up, it was, like really early time for sort of, like, in the box production, and it was, like, burial and, like, all this cool stuff, and, like, I felt like I was able to meaningfully contribute to sort of, like, the rise of, like, producer culture. And I think now is another moment that sort of, like, affords those types of opportunities to, like, make things that are kind of like hieroglyphics. But even more so right now because I think, you know, there's been a few events on the cosmic scale. It's like the Big Bang happened, like, you know, blue-green algae started being, like, life spontaneously existed, like animals came onto the land, like, hominids existed, like, cities and civilizations happened, and now we're gonna go to space, and we're gonna create a new form of consciousness, which, as far as we know, only exists within our own species. And I think the things that are gonna happen in the next couple of years are on the level of, you know, on the cosmic scale, like you can count on your fingers how many times these kinds of things have happened. And so I think artists, we are the luckiest artists in the world who can engage with these things right now.
Yeah, and art what's going to survive. That's going to be history.
Yeah, exactly. It's like no one remembers, like, the random, like, you know, supply chain bullshit. Like, they just remember the pyramids.
Nice. I have one more question, because I've actually got to head to Dot Villa to do my set in a minute.
Oh, sick. Nice.
I'm playing with Talia. You definitely should check out Talia. I'm going to send... Yeah, I just think you're going to vibe. Anyway, this is actually a question that I always ask on my podcast, which is it's all about utopia and, like, heading to utopia. And I'd love to know, like, what is your utopia?
I don't believe in utopia. I think... but I think pain is really important. I think we're in a weird sort of, like, moment where it's become there's this idea that we can like eliminate pain, and I think it's giving people the wrong incentives of how to actually make the world better. It's like when you see a little kid, like that kid learns by experiencing pain. Like baby learns to not touch fire because baby touched the candle. And I think we should not be aiming for utopia, because what utopia is going to be is like the Matrix, like us plugged into some heaven where we just feel nothing and we are not present in the physical world. I think what we want is like mitigated, like we want a reality where like suffering is greatly reduced. We want a reality where everyone has a quality of opportunity, and everyone has the opportunity to make their life what they want it to be. But I think we do want pain to an extent. I think we want, because if everything is fixed, motivation goes down a lot, I think, It's like, people like, that's why I'm like, women shouldn't be so mad about like how people are with female producers, because it's sick to have something to fight against. And it's sick to overcome preconceived notions about you. Like, people respect that more than just like, if it's just like a chill vibe and you didn't overcome anything and like whatever. Everyone likes the hero's journey.
That's true, and that's how change happens, right? Yeah. And you're playing tonight at Club Chinois. I think that's how you say it. I don't know.
I have no idea how to say it. Yeah.
Are you excited?
Yeah. I haven't rehearsed yet, and I was just like making a bunch of stuff on my laptop without even headphones. Like, God knows how that's going to translate, but it'll be interesting.
Well, we'll be there. I'm really excited to see you play, and thank you so much for chatting to me today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great to hear your insights. Everyone make some noise now for Grimes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.